Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Teed Up with V1 Sports. I'm Alex Prasad, CEO of V1 Sports, and I'm joined by a mental but also remarkable individual. Sorry, his own words, Andy Little. Andy has built a 100% online business. So we're going to hear his journey. And I would make a joke about him maybe just being an AI bot and not being a real person. But for better or worse, I did meet Andy in person at the PGA show a couple weeks ago. So I can assure you, Andy is a real human. Andy, welcome and thanks for spending the time.
No, I appreciate the invite on, and obviously more than happy to share my ideas and my sort of journey to hopefully inspire a few other people to sort of get on, because my transformation from what I used to do to what I am doing now is night and day, to be fair. And yes, I am very much a real person. I can agree that I met Alex as well in PJ
show. both real people, even though in today's day and age, right, everything's two-dimensional, over Zoom basically. Yeah, so Andy, you're 100% online right now. All of your revenue is generated there. But take us back. You started working with kids, and that's certainly not who you're working with online today. So kind of give us the arc that your career journey, if you would.
Yeah, so blessed to have been a pro for 24 years now. So I turned pro when I was just 18 years old. Was lucky to get an opportunity to become a full-time coach at 19 while I was still doing my PJ training. And just back in the day, in the early 2000s, there was still that sort of stigma that the trainee who had the least amount of knowledge and the least amount of experience should be in charge of the junior coaching, even though juniors are the next generation of golfers, and probably in theory the most experienced person should be teaching the juniors. So I started my sort of coaching career working at a golf course, driving range, and was only actually allowed to teach juniors, and realized that as I was starting to develop my understanding of obviously coaching, I also realized from a junior golf perspective that I had some sort of good traits and personality traits to help me with junior coaching. So a lot of junior coaching is obviously how you rapport with kids, your enthusiasm, your energy, and I do, dare I say, come with that with quite an abundance of energy, mostly caffeine fueled on a day-to-day basis. But I can
the haircut, Andy. The haircut helps too.
And the haircut, which is a love-hate relationship with most people online. But also, funny enough, to add to that, I used to wear like the loudmouth trousers that John Day would wear, and that was sort of my thing. And as I started my sort of coaching career, early 2000s, young, sort of mid-20s, we got to a stage where I realized that not many professional golfers liked teaching juniors. And I remember working at a location, there was 13 professionals and 12 hated teaching juniors. So every child that walked through that door was like, oh, Andy does the kids, Andy does the kids. And it was really obviously seen like, it was sort of like teaching juniors was above their remit, above their ability. So I sort of built a really good reputation. I got really quite good at it. And then I actually left the coaching environment to start a junior coaching company, which ironically was very easily named as Little Golfers, because me being Andy Little and then being Little Golfers, it made complete sense. And we sort of started at trying to move away from the traditional working long hours at a golf club. I actually started Little Golfers working in schools. So there was a lot of funding for just before the London Olympics in 2012. So I was being paid by lottery money, grants, etc., to go to a school to entertain some children, whether it was a lunchtime club or an after-school club. And there was there was obviously some tick box exercises. So some of these kids had to be semi-sporty, and some of them had behavioral issues and girl groups and etc. And basically got to a stage where I was building up a really good business and had other coaches working for me. And I think at one point I had 55 schools a week being taught by Little Golfers, whether it's myself or one of my coaches. Unfortunately, as soon as the Olympics had finished, they were like, see you with the funding and we'll move on to the next location. And obviously sort of the business took a bit of a hit, but I did sort of end up being based back at a golf club and still running sort of the junior coaching. Now, as much as junior coaching was amazing, it was also quite restrictive in what I can do. I have now a 16-year-old autistic son that is from a previous marriage. I see him every week on a regular basis, but I was starting to miss things. Simple as I couldn't go to his sports day because I had 2 junior groups on a Wednesday afternoon or whatever it may be. And that became a little bit of a frustration for me. Also, my own playing ability, we got to a stage where it nearly became pointless entering a tournament because A, I hadn't practiced enough because I was too busy doing junior coaching. B, if there was a tournament on a day where I had a busy day of junior coaching, it was like, I'm going to lose X amount of money by not teaching the juniors. B, I have to enter the tournament. C, I then got to try and play well in the tournament. There's a very high likely that not only am I not going to win money from the tournament, I'm also losing X amount from not coaching. So then it becomes, well, what's the point? So it got to a stage where I wasn't playing tournaments. There was things with my family that I was stuck. And with junior coaching, and like with any sort of coaching, you've got to be consistent. So that was one of my things. Every Saturday morning, I'm the face that the kids see. Every Tuesday after school, I'm whether it's 20 degrees of sunshine or whether it's raining outside and pouring with rain. It was the consistency that not only the kids wanted, but also the parents sort of expected, which obviously was great to build a business and a rapport and a retention rate, which was amazing. But I found that it wasn't like a Groundhog Day, but it was a Groundhog Week, because every Monday I did this, every Tuesday I did this, every Saturday I did this, and it.
You had some variety every 7th day,
Yeah, well,
Bill Murray with every single day.
It was very much sort of set in stone. It was like, this is my coaching for the week.
Inflexible.
Other things couldn't work around. And as we know, as self-employed coaches, if I wanted to go on holiday for a couple of weeks, I'm going to lose X amount of money by not coaching, as well as the expense of going on holiday. Then during the lockdowns that obviously we had when COVID hit and we're all sitting at home doing absolutely nothing, I realized that online coaching was a thing. Never had heard of it before. And it sort of just popped up. It took a while before I got into the online world, probably about another year before I sort of started. And I started to realize that there was, dare I say, another revenue stream. And even at that point, in probably like the mid sort of like, or early 2022, did I realize that I could escalate it up to now. So I sort of went onto the online world and I was like, right, I'm known as the junior guy. I'll try to teach juniors around the world through this online medium, and realized that there wasn't a massive demand for it. And it was a bit of a struggle to get people to sign up, to people have lessons. So for the first sort of 6 to 9 months, I wasn't really doing anything. So again, not really realizing the capabilities of like the online world. And it wasn't until I sort of changed sort of tactics where I was like, well, I need to sort of branch out a little bit. I need to maybe try to teach, dare I say, like grown-ups and adults again, which obviously some people don't realize I'm qualified to do that because they just see me with a 5-year-old on a daily basis. But it was like, I need to open up. So I need to open up to the sort of the world. But where I started to use social media to advertise myself, to try to get people into my online world, to maybe sort of give them a free review, to say, look, this is what I can do for you. This is like what I see in your golf swing, using the tools, on the analyzing tools, and giving them like just a little insight to what they could do. And then I think, dare I say it, because I spent so much time talking to a young child, and obviously my terminology and my language to a 6-year-old has to be very simple. I can't talk about into-out paths and club faces and stuff like that. It had to be very basic, which I genuinely feel the average golfer started to understand their golf swing better because part of my language
with them
was very simple. And as I was starting to build subscribers, and I was starting to gain more people in my online world, because I was able to retain them by providing a good service, I could obviously keep the funnel of new people coming in using social. And I didn't have, and still don't have, a massive social media following.
In terms of number of followers, the volume. Right.
Not at all. I'm not one of these guys that's gonna got like 100,000 Instagram followers and TikTok followers. I've got a very small amount. I'm growing quite nicely now. I'm up to about 16,000, but we're talking maybe a year and a half ago, I probably had 3,000. So it wasn't that I had a presence in the online world or the online space that was just, oh, okay, well, they're just going to funnel into me. But it was just trying to be consistent with social media posting, getting something out there on a daily basis, just saying, look, I'm in the online world. This is what I can offer you. Send me a message. Let me give you a free review. I can show you what I can do in the online space. And as the months progressed, dare I say it, we started to escalate quite nicely. And we've got to a stage where the online world was getting actually quite big, that I had a bit of a decision to make whether or not I continue my junior coaching, or maybe I could try to then sell that side of the business, give another pro the opportunity to use those coaches, and then put a bit more energy into the online space. Because what I was starting to realize is that the online space gave me two of the biggest things that I didn't have in the junior space, which was time and freedom from location. So I was starting to understand that, hang on a sec, if I focus my attention in the online world, I can do lessons as and when it suits me to a point. Obviously, I've always been great with getting back to subscribers, getting back to people, because I know as a customer, if you're sending me a video, they're so keen to improve their golf that, if I was doing that with someone that was teaching me around the world, I want that information fairly quickly. So I think getting back to people quickly is important, but there's obviously that sort of room for maneuver in terms of, okay, I've got a busy morning, I can do it in the afternoon, or okay, I've got a busy afternoon, I'll get up early in the morning, I can sort of do it. So I can sort of move my workload around to start suiting some needs. I then also realized we got to a stage, well, hang on a sec, I can go away, I can take my iPads, and I can still do the same amount of workload to a point. I can still, dare I say it, earn the same amount of money as if I was sitting in my own lounge or sitting on a beach in Jamaica. So I was like, okay, there's an opportunity here that if we keep doing quite well with the online world, we may be able to get rid of the junior world. Not that I didn't like teaching juniors. It was like there is a huge opportunity. But also, whenever you're doing in-person coaching, there is a limitation of how much you can earn. Because the only other thing, I can't clone myself. I can't work more than 24 hours in a day. I could charge more, but there's obviously a point where your ceiling of caps. Now, in the online space, there isn't really that ceiling at all. You are very much in charge of your own destiny in terms of price point, but also the audience that you are selling to has just become the world. It's not like I've had a golf studio just outside of London, which I've, again, just recently sold because of the online space. But even if I was doing in-person coaching, you're talking 3 to 5 miles in a radius being probably your absolute maximum. Especially in the UK, there are so many golf courses, there's so many golf pros. I can't see someone driving 10 miles past 20 different golf courses to come and see me as lesson, because not only is there obviously knowledge is a factor, obviously price point is a factor, and convenience to the golfer, which, so like that golfer's not going to drive past all these golf courses to come and see me if they can go and see their local pro at the range or their local pro at their golf club. It's just a convenience side. Now, again, the online space, not only is it very convenient for me because I can still earn while I'm away, I can be anywhere in the world, I can do it at my own time. I don't need a location as such. I'm not paying rent to anyone. I literally do lessons standing in my lounge or outside using my golf net. It's incredible in terms of my expenses to run a business is next to nothing, basically. But a convenience to the golfer is that they can be anywhere in the world, and I have taught in 41 different countries, which also blows my mind. And I have seen anything from incredible setups that are better than I've ever seen in a basement in Chicago, I want to say the guy was based, to a guy hitting into a bed sheet somewhere in Malaysia. It's like we've had different sides of the spectrum. But the convenience is all they've got to do is they've got to go and practice at their convenience, on their time schedule, at their location, whether it's at home, their driving range, their golf course, and then they can send me a video. and I will get back to them as soon as I can. So from literally, we're talking 3 years maximum, shall we say, I used to be consistently teaching 4 to 11-year-olds on a daily basis, not earning in person, not earning a huge amount of money, but doing okay, but being very restricted in terms of my options going forward, to now being completely 100% online, to, dare I say, earning more money than I've ever earned in my whole career, to also having the opportunity to have so many more doors open to me. So I sold my junior coaching company about 18 months or so ago. I used to have a golf studio which had a membership. So again, I was a little bit restricted because obviously I had to be there sometimes, open up for members, etc., etc. It was obviously great for content. But that, I actually sold my half of the business back in July. Since that time, I've been able to go to Bulgaria to play golf. I've gone to Turkey to play golf. I've gone to Egypt to play golf. I've gone to Orlando to the PGA show. I'm going to Dubai twice, in once in February for a week and once in March for a week. And then I'm doing a coaching trip in Turkey in April. If I was not doing my online world, none of that would have happened. Because I just couldn't afford to just keep popping off somewhere for a few days or for a week or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, I can genuinely, like, it's not really much of a thought process. Obviously, I have to pay for flights, accommodation and stuff like that. But the process of, can I do this because of restraints, restrictions, work commitments, is like, no, actually, I genuinely can. Because I even, like, when we met in Orlando and then we was flying back, I was doing lessons in Tampa Bay Airport because I was just waiting for a flight. And I'm like, okay, well, I've got a few people that have popped some videos over to me. I'll get back to them. I'm literally sitting at gate 83, but earning money at the same point, which is why the online space is quite an incredible thing. I've been babbling on for a very long time. My apologies.
Yeah, that's okay. That's great though. That's the whole story. So if I imagine myself to be one of your colleagues who is in your phase 3 years ago, very much tied to time and place, I think I listened to what you say, Andy, go, wow, that sounds great. I'd love to get there, but there's a lot of steps, in between, right? So what was, how have you, and in my discussions with golf instructors, I am not a golf instructor myself, right? So I think that makes me a better listener, because I don't come to the conversation with, preconceived notions. I say, tell me, what do you think? I don't know. You tell me, right? How did you begin? What was the first step? I think a lot of the of our customers and not customers, right? Other pros that I speak to do understand the promise, right? The golden path that you have walked here. But how do you get from 0 to 1? I mean, like, in particular, how did you translate what you do in person online? Like the actual nitty-gritty mechanics, right? Are you these folks that are sending you swings, are you charging them a la carte? Do they have a membership? Your promise obviously is to give feedback in a turnaround, but like some of those logistics, I find, I don't know what the right adjective is, but pros are kind of rummaging around for the right, formula there. And maybe your formula doesn't apply to them, but what have you found that has worked? Because it is different, right? If we are in-person setting, I'm going to come to you for a period of time. Maybe we have plans and a training plan and what was my homework from previous session, etc. But that's a pretty tried and true path. But online, there's so much flexibility. It can be, I think, daunting, for a pro who's not even begun on that journey yet.
Yeah. So,
tell me about that.
So I would say, so I think one of the biggest things that helps me is being consistent. So, and what I mean by that is there's a couple of factors. Obviously, social media is a great way to advertise yourself because it's free, but it's a great way to advertise that you are in the online space and you can offer it. The biggest thing that I offer all my sort of subscribers is sort of like an unlimited package. And what's the benefit of that to the golfer, which I think even like in-person lessons has this disconnect. You have someone in person, you give them great feedback, you give them great drills, they leave the lesson hitting it fantastically. You then have no control of what they are doing between that lesson and said next lesson, whether it's 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the line. And I think a lot of golfers, not all of them, but a lot of golfers in that time lose the feeling of what they were doing in the lesson.
Sure.
So they get slightly confused about where their hand should have been, what the backswing should have felt like, whatever drill it should have been. And then I think if they're not practicing the precise technique that me as the in-person instructor was hoping for, you'll start to get a slight hybrid of what I asked them to do, what they thought I wanted them to do. And if they start to get really confused, the evil of, let me just click on YouTube and see what they like if I can find another thing. And you know, it happened on a regular basis. They'll come back to you for their next lesson and you're looking at them like, in my mind, I'm like, what on earth have you been doing? Like, you know, like that was not what I said. But
yeah.
So what I've done in the online world is I can still give them exactly the same. Like literally the only difference from an in-person to an online lesson is that I'm not touching them. I'm not putting them around in different positions. But an in-person lesson, I'm going to video them because I want them to see themselves. So I would obviously do that in the online world. I'm then going to stand in front of them in the online world and do a demonstration video. And I'll be like, or a demonstration. I'm going to be like, you're doing this in your backswing. I want it to look like this instead. Now, I can stand in front of an in-person lesson and do it for them, or I can film it and do exactly the same as an online lesson. And the benefit of the online lesson, it's always in their pocket. So if they forget what I said or what it looked like, they can just go, oh, I've got a video from Andy that I can look at it. And then if I had an in-person lesson and we're working on something, I'll be like, well, this drill will give you a fantastic feeling of what we're trying to achieve. And they'll get that drill and then they'll leave that golf lesson and they'll go and try and do that drill. And in the online world, I'm like, well, here's a video that I've pre-recorded that is this exact drill that I know is going to benefit you. So the only main difference for me from an in-person to an online lesson is the fact that I'm not there physically pulling them around. But then the benefit of the online world, when you do a monthly plan, monthly is amazing. It's a bit like a gym membership. I genuinely have people that use and abuse me on a daily basis, but I also get the person that is literally paying me and never sending me a video, which obviously is not fantastic. We obviously want our golfers to be active and using it. But the reality is there are people that join a gym membership really keen for the first month, and then they sort of by March, they forget about it. And so part of my online, or most of my online world is that sort of recurring basis, because then I know from a business perspective, okay, I've got 100 subscribers. They're paying me X amount of money. I know my monthly revenue is going to be this. So then you can start to budget. Then you can start to plan. Then you can start to understand your expenses rather than just going month to month and not having any clue. You can obviously then go, right, this will be amazing. But then what I do with my online subscribers, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you a lesson, but you're going to go and practice and you'll video your practice and you'll send me that practice session. And then it's a case of just checking to make sure they are doing the right thing. And I think from the golfer, it benefits them because I'm like, okay, like I know that I'm going to go and try this new grip that Andy's told me, or this new backswing feel, and it's going to feel a bit weird. But at least I can do one practice session, get feedback, realize that maybe I haven't quite tweaked it enough or done it enough. And then my second practice can be better. Because I think if you leave a golfer to their own devices for too long, they'll just go back to old habits. And that's why I don't think a lot of people improve. They sort of improve at the lesson. And every time they practice, they sort of forget the feeling. They come for another lesson and get back to where they started. So there's not really that sort of progression. But if you're in the online world and you're getting regular feedback from people that are paying you money on a monthly basis, I genuinely will have some subscribers will send me four videos a week comfortably, because they've got a home setup and they, you know, he practices on his lunch break. So he'll do 20 minutes every day and he'll send me a video and be like, oh, Andy, how's it going? It doesn't mean every time they send me a video that I'm like, right, we need to work on something else. It's sometimes I'm literally saying, right, you know, Alex send me a video. I'm like, okay, you're on the right sort of track, Alex. Have a great day. I'll speak to you in a couple of days. It doesn't need to be, but it builds a relationship. And I think, again, one of the things talking about obviously how someone can transfer maybe into the online world, and maybe I share too much actually, but I try to build relationships. And one of the things that I try to build in relationships, when I'm doing a demonstration video, what me and you are having a conversation at the moment, I try to imagine that I'm literally talking to the person standing in front of me. Like me in the back of my phone have a fantastic relationship because I literally look at the back of my phone probably more than I look at my own son, to be fair. But it's trying to present myself in the online world a bit like if I was in the in-person world, because obviously it's a bit awkward to start with, especially if you've not done much filming before. Like when I listen to my own voice, I absolutely detest myself on social media, and I think most people don't like their own voice. But you can get quite intimidated or very self-conscious if you're standing there going, "Hi, I'm Andy. I'm your golf coach." But I just try to feel that that person's just literally standing in front of me, and I think that's definitely helped the rapport with my subscribers, because they sort of get a little bit of insight into my life. So, you know, my son's autistic, for example. So like all my subscribers know my son's autistic, and I will share things that happens between mine and his life on a regular basis. Like we go away occasionally. We go to like a weekend away, and I will happily share photos and videos of just my life in normal. Because if I was teaching you in person, part of the lesson to make that golfer feel comfortable is just a general conversation. How was your weekend? What did you get up to? It's not a very transactional, thank you for the money, this is what I want you to do, go and practice. I'm trying to literally build relationship. And the crazy, and another thing that I will say about the online world is we've now got to a stage where I've actually met with 4 subscribers. In the sort of, so I had a subscriber from Egypt come for a lesson. I had a guy from Norway fly to London for some business, and while he was here, he came to my golf studio for a lesson. I actually went on a training course to TPI in California to do the TPI level 3, and at the same time, I had a subscriber based in Pasadena, just outside of LA. So I'm like, well, shall I come and play golf with you? So I finished the course and then drove up to LA and played golf with him. And where building the relationships really hit home, I had taught this guy called Eddie, great guy. I had sort of seen his kids' swings on video as well, because he had little nets. So sometimes he had like little Johnny would hit a shot. I'd seen his wife hit a few shots. But when I met him for the first time, and I'd probably been coaching him for 3, 4, 5 months, it wasn't this awkward, "Hi, I'm Andy." It was like we were mates before we'd even met each other, just because we had so much communication. I knew about his life. He was a doctor at a local hospital. We had a couple of boys. You know, you sort of, those sort of awkward icebreaker questions had already been answered. And I think the online space won't be for everyone. Don't get me wrong. And some people will stick to their in-person space. But the opportunity to financially earn more money, there's no two ways about it. You can definitely earn more money than you are in person, because you can times your audience by a gazillion by opening to the world, and you can obviously charge whatever you want in the online space, and then potentially getting to a stage where you don't need a physical location, where maybe you're paying a lot of rent to a golf course, to rent a bay, to a driving range, etc., to then having the option to be able to move
and potentially a revenue share, in that in-person scenario, right?
And even you can get this, so like you say, you can have these hybrid things, because like if you're like, okay, well, I still want to do some in-person stuff because I've got a great client base and I want to keep teaching at this facility, even offering the online option as an added value to what you are currently doing. Because if you're seeing Richard once every 3 weeks, well, this guy's going to practice in between. If you had him on your coaching platform and you are able to then go, well, you know, thanks for the lesson today, Richard. Next time you practice, send me a follow-up and I will check for you. And then you can start charging more for your lessons, because you're adding the value of the sort of the online space, the checkups, and it just makes life, sweet, to be fair.
Yeah, we talk a lot about retention, and it means 2 things. One is the retention of the information. If we're only going to interact every 3 weeks, can I retain it over 3 weeks? No. for most people, golf is not number one on the list, right? Family, work, and many other, right? So how do I retain it or remember what Andy said? And that's why we so emphasize, the lesson recap at the end of the in-person experience, taking the last 5 minutes to summarize and giving, to your point, not just evidence that value was delivered, if you will, but also useful information, right? This is what we worked on. Here's a drill attached to your swing, etc. But then also retention of clients. So many of our, pros out there don't ask for the sale for the second time. They think that they do a good lesson, the student will come back, the athlete will come back, period. But then there's not touch points in between. So it's a little bit like, well, I was gonna say, I don't know where you get your haircut. I didn't mean it to be a joke, but where I get my haircut, they send me an email every like 5 weeks, because that's how often I get to go. Hey, like you need one. Like, oh yeah, I kind of do, So that's a silly example, a very low level example of just that little nudge or reminder. I also, because I think we feel that internally as well sometimes. If you're trying to make a sale of any sort, you really can get in your own head and get nervous that you're going to bug your customer and alienate them to the point where they don't want to come back. But if you have a good relationship, Andy, to your point, and I thought that's a great point, it's genuine, and you're trying to communicate with your customer. Yeah, they understand that you're running a business, but if you also genuinely care, just like I believe that we genuinely care about the pros that we support, and we're really trying to provide solutions for them, and maybe our solutions aren't right for them, that's fine, right? But we're really trying to help. You shouldn't be nervous about reaching out, right? Hey, I saw, we haven't seen each other in a couple of weeks. You had this tournament that you said that you needed to, not make a fool of yourself at. How did it go? Yeah, you're reaching out because you want him to say, well, it went okay, but I'd like to get even better, come back. But you're also reaching out because you're genuinely curious, right? So no, we always encourage our pros to interact more with their customers, and that's why we're offering some tools that will do it for you, right? With AI and so on and so forth, because we understand that so many are only in that in-person environment and really don't have the time. Bumper crop in the summer when you're way too busy, and then fallow fields, if you will, right, in the winter, low tide for sure. But the time to train your students, if you will, that there is an asynchronous opportunity and we can continue to work together, not just in the summer, is when you're at your max capacity, right, personally. And so that's why we've tried to provide a lot of tools that do it for you, if you will.
I just think sort of just touching base with subscribers, whether it's just a friendly message or an email to be like, hi, just like you said, just how's the golf going? It doesn't have to be a hard sell. You're just trying to nudge. And one of the things that I like to do with sort of building these relationships is not, I suppose it's the wrong way of putting it, but making it harder for them to sort of stop, because you want to feel that there's a genuine connection. So, in the online world, I suppose the one negative that I could say, I can click one button and I could end this call and never have to speak to Alex again, because we're in different locations. And in the online world, that is that potential option where if they're not using it, they can just click a button and they never have to see me again. We're never going to cross paths. These the other side of the pond, somewhere in the States, it's never going to happen. But if I can build a genuine friendship, I would genuinely say, like, I've got friends in the online world that I've never met, because I invest in them as a person and in their golf, and they come back. Like, funny enough, I was speaking to a guy today he's an English guy, but he's based in Dubai. So he works in Dubai. He WhatsApps me on an annoyingly daily basis, because I joke, because he is on a mission to break 90 for the first time. And he played today and he shot 90 because he tripled the last hole. And he played at the weekend and he shot 91 because he doubled the last hole. But he also won the competition. And we're having this sort of interaction where he's like devastated, but I'm like, you're doing so well. This guy couldn't break 100 when we first started. He's done fantastically well, and to the point that I'm going to go out to Dubai in a couple of weeks' time. I'm going to film some content, and we've already booked. We're going to play golf together a couple of times, because we've got this friendship. I want to go and spend time with him, not just as a golf instructor and as a paying customer. It's like he's actually a pretty cool dude. You know, he's got a fitness industry. He's got his own business. You know, it's just a really nice guy. I'll happily go and play golf with him. I'm not going to charge him for a playing lesson or anything like that. It's just playing golf. And that's, if you can get your head around building a relationship virtually, it will help your retention. So if you're doing in-person stuff and then trying to add online as an added benefit, then you're already halfway there. You've already got the relationship with your in-person clients because you see them in person. If you're adding online, you're just adding value to what you offer at your golf club, but then you've got the opportunity to start doing online to people that aren't at your golf club, and then you start to then open your options to earn a lot more money because you can be teaching people on the other side of the world, which is just mind-blowing. But I do recommend that you turn your phone on Do Not Disturb when you go to bed. for that exact reason, because obviously me being obviously dare I say the online space is still quite American based. I do have people all over the world, but I think it suits quite an American audience because of how vast your country is and how vast everything is away from each other, and because you generally have higher ceilings. I couldn't put a golf studio in my flat here, unfortunately, but you go to an American house and it's like double the height. So a lot of Americans, dare I say it, have some sort of home setup, whether it's a net, whether it's a simulator, whether it's a launch monitor. They've got something, is what I get a general feel. And I did actually have a Canadian subscriber who was 2 hours away from a golf pro. There was a golf course that he went to that was more local, but there was no pro. It was just a golf course. There was no way for him to get instruction. So when he sort of found the online world and realized that he could have lessons in his barn setup that he's got in his back garden, he was elated because he's not got to travel 2 hours to go and have a golf lesson. He literally can just roll out of bed and hit some shots. The possibilities are endless. Like, if anyone's on the fence listening to this, it's like you've got to give it a go. And obviously, going back to your first question, yes, it is difficult to go from 0 people to 1 person in the online world. There's no two ways. But if you are just consistent in trying to encourage people to come into your online world, and I've always found offering a free review, not a lesson, but just let me show you what the app can do. Let me just show you what I see in your golf swing. Download the app, let me have a little play, and I'll let you know my thoughts. And the more you can do that, once you get to 1, the next challenge is, can you get to 10? And again, if you can just be consistent, keep the funnel at the top getting bigger and bigger. Once you get sort of past 10, it becomes not only that, but it becomes a little bit of a free will, because out of those 10 people, you can nearly guarantee that one of those 10 is going to talk to his mate or his missus, or someone's going to notice at the golf club that guy has improved, and they're going to say, oh, I'm having lessons with Andy in the online world. He's like, can you believe it? You know, I'm out here in Mexico and this guy's in London teaching me. And then it starts to just sort of snowball. So, you know, I've had quite a lot of husband and wives. I've had quite a lot of sort of fathers and their daughters, and that sort of parent and siblings set up. And then I've had referrals. I've had my mate refer to my mate, and that's when you can start to go, like, you know, if you've got a friend, then, you know, get them to download the app and I'll let them know my thoughts. And then you start joking that, you know, if they throw you $20, I'll give them the shanks and stuff like that. And you know, but it's those sort of things that once, yes, 0 to 1 is hard. 1 to 10 is tricky. Get past 10, and then because you start to use the online space in your communications, and you start to understand what works in the online world, then it's gone. Like, I'll be honest, I never even dreamed that I would get to 100 subscribers around the world, and I currently sit at just over 120. And I did, to be fair, this is a true story actually, because I was talking to my girlfriend. I was like, when I get to 100, that's me done. I was like, no more, 100's done.
Yeah, then I'm happy.
And then you get like, well, I'm sort of coping all right with the demand of lessons. Maybe I can go for 101. That's fine. And then you're like, oh, 101. Oh, I seem to be still doing okay. Maybe 102. And it's now just because it's a little bit. I never know what to expect on a daily basis. Yes, I'm now 100% online. I know I need to dedicate some of my day to the online space, whether it's 2 hours here, 1 hour here. I need to find something in my day. How many lessons I wake up to on a daily basis, couldn't tell you. You obviously get a rough average. This morning I woke up and I had 8. I think Monday, because I don't try and do too much on a Sunday because I have my son Blake here, I probably woke up to about 15. But the beauty is like, you know, I'm just at home this afternoon. I've got a few V1 calls of interested people to connect with. And if anyone sends me a video, I'll be like, well, might as well just do it now. I'm not doing, I think little and often, you know, it can really help the workload. And if for whatever reason, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on a plane today, people, communication, just let people know. I'm like, can you not send me a video on this Tuesday? Because I'm going to be in the air for 8 hours and I'm not going to get back to you. And they're like, sure, enjoy your day. I'll speak to you later. So, you know, there is, yes, the online world is this 24/7 advertised thing. And yes, I do an online lesson every day of the week, 365 days of the year. I even did, I did 3 lessons on Christmas Day. You know, I did because I had the option. I'm sitting at home. I'm like, I'm not doing anything else. I might as well do it because I love what I do. It's not work. Which I suppose is why we do what we do. You know, in the golf industry, we if you don't love your job, then you should need to go and find another job. But if you love your job, then it's not work. And I genuinely don't feel it's work. And I feel very blessed that the online world has connected well with me. And yes, I feel I do a couple of things well. I feel I think personality is quite a big thing. I think, you know, you've got to, dare I say, have something about you. And if you feel that you're a bit, if you're a bit monotone in your dialogue, I think you need to maybe just try to get a little bit more excited about what you're doing. But there's an online option for everyone, whether it's adding it to what you're already doing in the online space, or if you're thinking, I wouldn't mind earning a few extra quid, where can I potentially get these sort of clients from around the world?
Quid would be bucks to an American, just to translate from your proper
English, you know, Sorry.
Well, Andy, I think
proper English story... talking to an Englishman.
Andy, I think your story is inspirational. You're clearly an outlier, but there are nuggets, right? You know, for everyone. You know, to your point, that are only in the in-person, if you will, universe today. And I think that was it's a great way to summarize a conversation. To be candid, that a completely asynchronous, completely online workflow is not a panacea, right? It's not the solution to all problems, but it's different. It's more flexible. There's a lot of positives to it, to your point, and great opportunity. And yeah, I suspect for many of the people that will, you know, watch this, the truth or their, you know, Goldilocks situation, right, will be somewhere in between, some combination. So Andy, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for sharing your story. Congratulations on your success. And you know, don't strive too hard for, you know, 130, 140.
No, we're going all the way. We're going as far as I can cope workload, and as many people around the world as I can help. And obviously, I am very grateful for the online platform.
Thanks, Andy.
Take care. Cheers, Alex.